Hi, welcome back to What the Fish with me, Bobby. Today's topic is going to be about feeding your fish. How do we know what they eat? How do we know what they want? How do we know what they need, and how do we know what they're missing? Well, a lot of times we're just making an educated guess. It's not like we're going out into the wild and picking out the exact foods that these fish eat when they're out in a river or a lake. What we're doing is we're relying on companies to provide us with prepared foods. So what we need to make sure that we do is give as many different varieties of food as we can so that we know that we're not missing any nutritional value that some of your fish might be craving. So today's video, I'm just going to take a walk through some of my tanks. I'm going to feed the fish, just show you what I feed, let you know how I do it. If you find some foods that you think you might want to try, please go ahead and list them in the comments and I'll be happy to answer any questions that I can. And that way you can ask yourself the question, what the fish are these guys supposed to eat? All right, let's start with this tank right here, which as you can see is a community tank because it has many different kinds of fish mixed into it. Whenever you have a community tank, you're going to have fish with different dietary needs. Some of them are meat eaters, vegetarians, or both, omnivores. And so what you want to try to do is supply different types of food and rotate that around a little bit so that everybody gets a little bit of something what they like. The fish in this tank that lean towards vegetarianism are the silver dollars and the gold severums. They really like vegetation. They love plants, which is why there are none in here. They would just mow them down and eat them in no matter of time. And so for these guys, what I like to do is provide some fresh lettuce. You can use red leaf lettuce, green leaf lettuce, anything that's kind of thin and easy for them to pick on. So I just kind of take a suction cup, stick it onto the lettuce and put it into the tank. They'll go crazy for this in no time at all. Additionally, there are some plecos in here. And so for those guys, I'm gonna do some zucchini. I just put it on this clip like this with a string on it so that it's easy to get the clip in and out of the tank. But I just kind of drop it in here. It'll sink to the bottom and the plecos will start eating it. And then of course, for everybody else, we need some meat. So for these guys, we're gonna do some freeze-dried krill. And for the smaller fish, some sinking pellets. These are high protein bug pellets, which will satisfy the carnivorous needs of these fish. And there you have it. I also use some frozen food once in a while, maybe some frozen shrimp or fish meal that I kind of grind up in a little food processor for them. They really like that too. But whatever you want to do, make sure you mix it up so that everybody in the tank gets what they need nutritionally. Well, that didn't take long, a couple hours, and all that's left are the stems. So the severums and the silver dollars just go to town on the lettuce. Next up, we have what's known as a species tank. This is a tank with just one kind of fish in it. In this case, some shell dwellers from Lake Tanganyika. These guys are pretty much carnivores, and so for them, their diet is going to be composed pretty much all of meat. For today, what I'm going to do is give them some frozen brine shrimp. They really like that. It gives them a lot of roughage to help keep their digestive tract clean, but I also do supplement with things like carnivorous pellets and even some flake food. They really like that as well. And even though they're just mostly meat eaters, you want to make sure that you keep to variety so that you're not feeding your fish just one thing. Now, there's another species tank in this room as well, and that is this one right over here. These are a couple of goldfish that I have. They're kind of my office buddies. Goldfish are omnivores, meaning that they do like meat, but they do like vegetation. As a matter of fact, they'll eat pretty much anything. So today they're also going to get some frozen brine shrimp to help with their gut as well, because again, frozen brine shrimp is a great source of roughage to help keep their guts clean so that they don't get any kind of internal diseases in their digestive tracts. I also do like to make sure that I feed some pelleted type foods for the goldfish as well. It's very important, especially if you have any of the fancy variety of goldfish like these guys with the weird body shapes, that you feed sinking foods. Foods that float on the surface can cause some problems because as the goldfish eat them, they suck in a lot of air, which messes with their swim bladders. Sometimes you'll see them floating upside down or even unable to get off the bottom of the tank. That usually indicates a swim bladder problem and can be caused by floating foods. Also, for them, fresh vegetables work well. Some boiled peas that you crush, you can feed them, or even duckweed. If you have it in any of your tanks, you can put some in here. Goldfish love duckweed, they eat it like crackers. If you really want to kick it up a notch, have some live food on hand. Baby brine shrimp is great for feeding baby fish, fish with small mouths, and just putting weight on small fish and growing them very quickly. I'll do a whole video on how to create your own hatchery pretty soon. We want to spawn these threadfin rainbows sometime next week, and baby brine shrimp is great for bringing them into condition. They've got really small mouths to begin with, so they need tiny food anyway, but the amount of protein and fat that baby brine shrimp put onto these fish is incredible. Females will be full of eggs, and the males will be ready to do the deed as soon as they fatten up on all this brine shrimp. It's just a buffet for them, and they love it. Speaking of baby fish, or small fish in general, you want to make sure that you feed a food that's an appropriate size for their mouths. So for small fish like baby guppies, crushed up flake food works really well. Regular sized flake food for the adults is also a decent option. Now on adult fish like guppies, most of the time they're big enough to take things like frozen brine shrimp if you want to try feeding them that, but it's a good idea to give them some crushed up flakes periodically, because you never know when you're going to have baby guppies swimming around there and they're too small to eat the frozen brine shrimp. Carnivorous species like these baby electric blue acaras can also benefit from some flake food that's crushed up. This is a high protein shrimp meal that I feed. I also do feed these guys frozen brine shrimp since they're old enough to eat it now, and they seem to be growing pretty quickly. So you gotta make sure that you keep your baby fish very well fed, good water changes, and they'll grow very quickly for you. One of my favorite fish are cory cats. They're meat eaters too, so anything from frozen worms to frozen brine shrimp to pellets for catfish, anything high protein, cory cats are just gonna go crazy for. So you especially wanna make sure it's something that sinks. Obviously they're bottom feeders, and if there's nothing at the bottom, then they typically won't look for it. So anything that sinks is very meaty and high in protein, great for cory cats. Let's not forget the old standby, angels. They're meat eaters, and they love anything that's got some heft to it to chew on. So some frozen brine shrimp works great, frozen bloodworms, any kind of pellets that sink, or even floating stuff is great for them. As long as it's high protein, they're good. There's some Lake Tanganyika catfish in here, some petricola cats, which I think are super cool. Most catfish love meat, so they will eat pretty much anything with a meaty texture to it. I try not to give African species like Lake Tanganyika or Lake Malawi cichlids and catfish too much in the way of bloodworms. It sometimes causes bloat if you give them too much of it. So when it comes to this type of food, frozen food, I like to stick with frozen brine shrimp. All right, let's move on to plecos. If you watched my video on the different types of plecos, you'll know that there are different types of food for each species. These guys are forms of bristlenose or ancistrus plecos, which eat vegetarian. So for the bushy nose, I'm gonna go ahead and give them some zucchini that I weighted down with a weight. And the tank next to them has some what are called Rio Etenes bushy nose. They're also vegetarian, but these are little babies. And so whenever I have baby fish, especially plecos, I like to feed them Repashy because it's softer and easier for the babies to rasp the parts of the food off of the block. That way I know that everybody's getting fed. A couple of babies in here too, so I'm gonna drop some Repashy in this tank as well. It also supplies a lot more vitamins and minerals that you're gonna get out of just plain old zucchini, so even if there are no babies in your tank, it's a good idea to give them some when you can. And here they come, looking right at it. All right, let's not forget our meat-eating plecos. If you remember from the Hypancystrus video, Hypancystrus plecos are meat eaters, and they're not going to eat algae or any kind of vegetation. So I thought today what we would do is make up some fresh Repashy for them. It's a good high-protein food that they love to scratch on. It's very tasty. They go just nuts for it. So what you need to do is take your Repashy and go ahead and put the powder into a small container like this. You need to add very hot, mostly boiling water to the mix, and you want to make sure that you do roughly a 1-to-1 ratio. Once you put the water in there, you need to mix it up real good, because this stuff is going to start forming into sort of almost like a cake batter type of a consistency. And you want to make sure that it doesn't cool off too quickly, because if it does, then it just doesn't seem like it sets right. So you're going to want to make sure that you use your mixture as fast as you can. And once you mix it and you get it prepared, the next step that you need to do is to let it sit. It needs to sit for at least probably a good hour or two, somewhere where it can cool off. Now you could put it in the fridge if you want to, but I like to make sure that it stays uncovered, because it lets any of that extra water sort of evaporate out of the mixture. And so I like to set it out of the refrigerator, because this stuff, trust me, it stinks. I mean, it's basically crushed up insects and that type of thing, so you really don't want to get that odor into your refrigerator. If you like, you can also smear it onto rocks and pieces of slate and let it set on there, and then the fish can sort of rasp it off. But today I'm just going to do it this way, and I'm going to let it dry inside this container, and then I'm just going to go ahead and slice it into cubes, which are easy to feed. So you kind of shake it around a little bit, make it so that it's nice and even inside the pan, almost like you're making a tray of really disgusting brownies. Okay, the Repashy is all done. As you can see, it's formed into a nice, like I called it earlier, disgusting brownie. So I'm just going to take a knife and I'm going to slice it into some strips and then make little cubes out of it like this. And then that way we can feed it to the plecos. Let's pop a couple out. Now I like to make them a little bit smaller so that nobody hogs the whole thing. Like that. Okay, so let's go. All right, let's start with the L333s. They've been kind of jonesing for some food here, so just kind of put that in. See, you can see it sinks to the bottom, nice and good, and here they come. They're already looking for it. Now, keep in mind, these are fish that normally only come out after the lights are on, or sorry, after the lights are off. But you put some Repashy in here, they just go crazy. So they're already all starting to come out of their caves. They can smell it. The other thing that I like to feed these guys is some frozen brine shrimp. They love frozen bloodworms, absolutely go crazy for it. So nice meaty foods. I do supplement their diet with some bug pellets as well, high protein bug pellets, and they go crazy and they do well. They breed, they get nice and fat, and yeah, they love it. So there you have it, varieties of spice of life. Try and make sure you have at least 2 different kinds of fish food, even if you just have 1 tank, because your fish are going to need that extra bit of protein, fat, carbohydrates that one food has and the other one doesn't. Fresh vegetables are always fantastic if you have fish that will eat them, and the more variety that you give your fish in the foods that you feed, the healthier, more colorful they'll be, and the more often they'll spawn. Sure, fish will live just fine with a can of flake food and nothing else. They might even spawn for you once in a while, but you're not going to get that regular spawn. You're not going to get the amount of babies that you normally would have when you're feeding a whole different variety of foods. So make sure that you spice it up for them. Go with the meat, go with the veggies, go with the omnivores, whatever you can do to keep your fish as healthy as you can. You wouldn't want to eat the same food every day, and neither do your fish. Now, if you like this video and you like what I've been doing, please hit the subscribe button. It helps keep me motivated to make more videos. I'm just kind of starting at this and fooling around in the YouTube world, so the more admiration that I get from people like you, the better off I'm going to be. And that way I can always ask the question, what the fish is for dessert?